You've felt it before. That strange pull towards something you know is bad for you, even if you don't fully realize it. It starts as something small. You tell yourself you'll only check your phone for a minute. Just one notification, just one video. But somehow an hour disappears, and when you finally look up, there's this strange feeling inside you. Not satisfaction, not happiness, something closer to emptiness. Yet the next day, you do it again. Or maybe it's something else. Food you don't even enjoy anymore. Conversations that drain you. Habits that slowly chip away at your energy, your focus, your identity. And the most disturbing part is this. You're not blind to it. You know it's not good for you. You feel it, deep down. That quiet voice that says, "This isn't helping you." But you ignore it. Not because you want to, but because something inside you feels stronger. A pull, an invisible force that keeps bringing you back, again, and again, and again. Most people think this is a lack of discipline. They think it's about willpower, motivation, self-control. But that's not what's happening here. Because if it were that simple, you would have stopped already. There's something deeper controlling this loop. Something built into the way your brain works. And here's where it gets uncomfortable. Your brain is not designed to make you happy. It's not designed to help you become your best version. It's not even designed to protect your future. Your brain is designed for one thing, immediate survival. And in the modern world, that becomes a problem. Because survival today doesn't look like danger. It looks like comfort. It looks like stimulation. It looks like quick hits of reward that keep you feeling okay just long enough to stay in the loop. Your brain doesn't know the difference between something that helps you and something that slowly destroys you. If it feels good for a moment, it registers as useful. And once it learns that something gives you that feeling, it will push you toward it, relentlessly. That's why you go back to things you hate. That's why you repeat behaviors that drain you. That's why you feel trapped in patterns you can clearly see, but can't seem to escape. Because this isn't about logic, it's about conditioning. Every time you give in to something, your brain reinforces it. It strengthens the pathway, makes it easier the next time, until eventually, it doesn't feel like a choice anymore. It feels automatic. And that's when it becomes dangerous, because now it's not you deciding, it's your brain running a pattern, and the more you follow it, the stronger it becomes. Most people never realize this. They go their entire lives thinking they just lack discipline. But the truth is much darker than that. You're not just struggling with habits. You're struggling with a system inside your own mind that is wired to prioritize short-term reward over long-term survival, even if it destroys you slowly. And once you understand this, you start to see everything differently. Your behavior, your cravings, your impulses, they're not random, they're predictable, programmed, reinforced, and if you don't become aware of this system, it will keep running your life without you even noticing. The illusion of control. Most people believe they are in control of their actions. They believe that every decision they make is intentional, that when they reach for something, it's because they chose to. But that belief is an illusion. Because by the time you decide to do something, your brain has already made the choice, long before you become aware of it. This is one of the most uncomfortable truths about human behavior. Your conscious mind, the part of you that thinks, plans, and reflects, is not in charge most of the time. It's reacting, explaining decisions that were already made beneath the surface. Think about it. Have you ever picked up your phone without even realizing why? Opened an app without remembering what you were looking for? Started doing something and only later questioned it? That's not coincidence. That's automatic behavior. And it comes from a deeper system inside your brain, a system built on patterns. Your brain is constantly looking for efficiency. It wants to save energy. So instead of analyzing every situation from scratch, it creates shortcuts, habits, loops. If something has worked before or at least felt good before, your brain stores it. And next time a similar situation appears, it triggers that same response instantly, without asking you. That's why you don't decide to check your phone. You feel an urge, and then you justify it. That's why you don't choose certain habits. You fall into them, automatically. And here's the problem. Your brain doesn't evaluate whether a pattern is good or bad. It only evaluates whether it produces a result. If something gives you relief, distraction, or stimulation, even for a moment, it gets reinforced, and the more it's repeated, the stronger it becomes, until it turns into something you no longer question, something that feels normal, something that feels like you. But it's not you, it's conditioning, layered over time, built from repetition, and once a pattern is strong enough, it doesn't need your permission anymore. It runs on its own. This is why people stay stuck, not because they want to, but because their brain has learned a system that keeps them there, a system that prioritizes comfort over growth, familiarity over change, immediate relief over long-term improvement. And breaking out of that system feels uncomfortable, even painful, because you're going against something your brain believes is safe, even if that safety is slowly destroying you. That's why change feels hard, not because you're weak, but because your brain is protecting a pattern it believes you need even when you don't. And the longer you stay in that loop, the harder it becomes to break, because every repetition makes it stronger, more automatic, more invisible, until one day, you don't even question it anymore, you just follow it. The dopamine trap. There's something most people misunderstand about dopamine. They think it's the chemical of pleasure, that it's what makes you feel good, but that's not entirely true. Dopamine isn't about pleasure, it's about anticipation. It's about the promise of something good, that subtle pull you feel before checking your phone, that urge to open an app, that craving before eating something you don't even enjoy anymore. That's dopamine. And here's where things start to get dangerous. Because dopamine doesn't care if the outcome is actually satisfying. It only cares about getting you to repeat the behavior. Again, and again, and again. Your brain releases dopamine when it expects a reward, not when it receives one, which means the strongest part of the cycle is not the satisfaction, it's the chase. That's why you keep scrolling, because maybe the next post will be interesting. That's why you keep checking your messages, because maybe something new will appear. That's why you keep going back to things that don't fulfill you, because your brain has learned there might be something here. And might is enough. In fact, unpredictability makes it even stronger. When rewards are inconsistent, your brain becomes more addicted. This is the same principle used in slot machines. You don't win every time, but you win sometimes. And that sometimes is what traps you. Your brain keeps chasing that moment, that possibility, that tiny chance that something will feel good again, even if most of the time it doesn't. And over time, this changes you. Your baseline drops. Things that used to feel good, feel normal. Things that used to be enough no longer satisfy you. So you seek more stimulation, more intensity, more distraction. But the more you consume, the less you feel. And the less you feel, the more you chase. Until eventually, you're not even enjoying it anymore. You're just repeating it. That's the trap. You think you're searching for pleasure, but you're actually stuck in a loop of anticipation, a loop your brain created, a loop your brain now depends on. And the worst part? It feels natural. It feels like you. But it's not. It's a system, a feedback loop. That keeps you hooked on things that slowly drain you. And the longer you stay in it, the harder it becomes to escape. Because your brain isn't trying to stop it. It's trying to maintain it. Why you return to what hurts you? There's something even more disturbing than addiction. And it's this. You don't just repeat what feels good. You repeat what feels familiar. Even if it hurts you, even if it drains you, even if it slowly destroys your confidence, your energy, your sense of self. Because your brain has one rule above all else. Familiar equals safe. Not good, not healthy. Safe. And that distinction changes everything, because what your brain considers safe is simply what it already knows. Patterns you've experienced before, emotions you've felt repeatedly, situations that your brain has learned to recognize, even if those situations are negative, even if they involve stress, rejection, or discomfort. If it's familiar, your brain accepts it. And if it's unfamiliar, your brain resists it. That's why people stay in toxic environments. That's why they repeat the same mistakes. That's why they feel drawn to things that clearly don't serve them. Because on a deeper level, it feels known. And what feels known feels easier to return to. Think about it. Have you ever noticed how people often recreate the same situations in their lives? Different faces, different places, but the same patterns, the same emotions, the same outcomes. That's not coincidence, that's conditioning. Your brain is trying to maintain what it understands, even if that understanding is built on something broken. And here's the part most people never realize. Your brain doesn't distinguish between emotional pain and physical danger the way you think. If something feels predictable, it feels manageable, even if it hurts, even if it limits you, even if it keeps you stuck, because unpredictability feels like a threat. That's why growth feels uncomfortable. That's why change feels difficult. That's why doing something new feels wrong. Not because it is wrong, but because your brain hasn't learned it yet. So it resists it, pushes you back toward what it knows, back toward what feels safe, back toward what keeps the pattern intact. And over time, that pattern becomes your reality. Not because you chose it consciously, but because your brain reinforced it over and over again until it became automatic, invisible, normal. And that's why you go back to things that hurt you, not because you want to suffer, but because your brain recognizes it, and recognition feels like safety. You're not seeking happiness. Most people believe their actions are driven by one goal: to be happy, to feel good, to improve their lives. But if that were true, you wouldn't keep doing things that make you feel worse. So what's really driving your behavior? It's not happiness, it's regulation. Your brain is constantly trying to maintain a certain internal state, a balance, a level of stimulation that feels familiar, not necessarily good, just known. And once that level is set, your brain will try to return to it no matter what. That's why someone who feels stressed will unconsciously seek more stress. That's why someone who feels empty will gravitate toward things that reinforce that emptiness. Because your brain is not trying to elevate you, it's trying to stabilize you. Even if that stability is built on something negative, even if that balance is actually harming you. Because from your brain's perspective, consistency equals safety, and safety equals survival. So if your baseline is low, if your patterns are unhealthy, if your habits are destructive, your brain will protect them. It will maintain them. It will guide you back to them, again and again. That's why change feels unnatural. Because you're not just changing behavior. You're disrupting a system your brain believes you need, and that system will fight back. Through cravings, through urges, through thoughts that try to justify going back. It will tell you just one more time, it's not that bad. You deserve it. Not because it's true, but because your brain wants to restore the pattern, and the more you listen, the stronger that pattern becomes, until eventually it defines your behavior. And once that happens, you're no longer acting based on what you want. You're acting based on what your brain expects. So here's the truth most people never face. Your brain is not on your side. Not in the way you think. It doesn't care about your long-term goals. It doesn't care about who you want to become. It doesn't care about your potential. It cares about patterns, about repetition, about maintaining what it already knows, even if that means keeping you stuck, even if that means pulling you back into behaviors that drain you, even if that means slowly destroying parts of your life, as long as the pattern stays intact. And that's what makes this so dangerous, because it doesn't feel like resistance. It feels like you. It feels like your thoughts, your desires, your decisions. But underneath all of that, there's a system running, a system that rewards what's familiar, a system that reinforces what's repeated, a system that keeps you inside loops you don't even question anymore. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. You start noticing it everywhere, the habits you keep returning to, the behaviors you can't explain, the patterns that repeat in your life. They're not random, they're not accidental, they're built, reinforced, strengthened over time, and unless you interrupt them, they will continue automatically, silently, relentlessly. But here's the part that changes everything. What if the things you think you want are not actually yours? What if your desires are just extensions of these patterns? What if your brain has been guiding you toward things that don't serve you, and you've been calling it choice? Because if that's true, cool, then the real question is not, why do I do this? The real question is, can I even trust what I want? And that's where things get deeper, because in the next part, we're going to break something even more disturbing. Not just your habits, not just your behavior, but your desires themselves.